And throughout this whole thing, though, I can't avoid the one criticism that I do have about this book, and that's welcome to Dad Bod Fitness. If you and I are just meeting, my name is David, and I help crazy busy dads and moms to build a physique. So Sal to Stefano is from Mind Pump Media. They do a podcast. They have a whole assortment of training programs that have been putting out content for years now. It's a podcast that I recently have been turned on to and is absolutely phenomenal. Love it. I would highly recommend you checking them out if you haven't already. The audience for this book it's geared towards a general audience. It's not for fitness, folks. It's not for personal coaches or gym rats or anything of that nature. Set up and made for the general population, which is awesome because there's no fitness hype in there. There's no fitness vernacular or verbiage or anything like that. It's very easily to understand and digest no matter who you are if you've never been in this at all. It gets right into the massive benefit that resistance training can provide for you, and ultimately not just in the short term but the long term, how it's going to actually better your health, better your longevity, and help you age more gracefully. Now the really cool thing is that the beginning half of this book, it's basically a client assessment that Sal would have used had someone come to him for personal coaching when he was actually a personal coach. And he will walk you through this personal assessment, taking you through different questionnaires, different functional assessments, seeing how you move. But it's incredibly eye-opening and an awesome experience to be able to walk through these assessments and to figure out where you are at with your nutrition, your stress levels, your sleep, your gut health, your mobility, and all those sorts of things. Very eye-opening. So you're basically getting personal coaching from Sal, in a way. If you're looking to get this book, or maybe you already have it, I would highly recommend probably getting the physical copy. I got the digital copy. I love audiobooks. It's the only way I listen, really. But in this part of the book, through these assessments and questionnaires, there's some visuals that would have been really helpful to have. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing like digital or PDF downloadable with the audiobook. So I actually might go out and buy the physical copy as well. So if you get the digital copy just for the convenience of listening, I would also recommend getting the physical copy as well. And there's another reason why you're going to want that, and I'll tell you in just a few minutes here. And now the cool thing about these questionnaires and assessments is that he encourages you to do them at the several weeks down into a program as well, to see how you've actually developed and changed, which is exactly what he would have done with another client. Side note here is that he's doing this all with the intent that he actually gives you 3 total body programs, one for total body anywhere, one with dumbbells, and then one if you actually have a full gym. So he's literally in this book giving you a full program that you can actually follow. Sal and his team have really nailed the understanding of resistance training. That's why I love his approach so much. And he articulated this so well. You are not to use training just to work out, to exercise. Don't use training to burn calories. You want to use the training to actually build your body to better handle the calories that you're going to be putting in it. And now the interesting thing here is that a lot of people will look at that and they'll see that's going to limit my gains right now. So in the short term, it feels like you're not making as much progress. But the phenomenal thing is the long-term gains, because all of these, practicing the movements, understanding your mobility, your actual functionality of your body, and not pushing yourself beyond what you can easily handle, going to a point of overtraining, is all going to put you in a better spot to be able to continually build muscle, lean out, get more functional and more agile as you age and over the long term. So for me as a dad, this is super important because I cannot sacrifice long-term gains for short-term results, because my purpose here is to be in better condition physically, mentally, have better health for my family. I need this to be a long-term approach. I need to be able to not cause myself issues down the road. He gives you so much value and wisdom about just nutrition and understanding how you eat, and also learning how to eat intuitively if that's what your goal is. He absolutely nails the approach for understanding how we should handle restriction with food, because restriction can cause a lot of people to do a lot of crazy things and really go off track, binge eat, all that kind of stuff. But if you understand, which he does and articulates it very well, how you need to approach food, It's not that you're saying no to things constantly. It's understanding what your true desires are. It's understanding what do you really want. And if you understand what you really want, you'll understand that, late at night, you've got the pizza sitting in the fridge, the leftovers from the weekend. You don't really want to just go binge eat the rest of that pizza. You don't want how that's going to make you feel. You don't want what that's going to do to your results. You truly do want to be able to fill in your body with whole foods that are going to provide energy and micronutrients and the building blocks to be able to build a better body. And he goes far more into depth into how to understand that, how to implement that. But understanding that is absolutely incredible, and I love the way that he articulates it. He goes pretty in depth into understanding gut health, understanding what your gut is doing. He takes you through some questionnaires to know if you've got some problems that you might need to be made aware of. And he'll even walk you through how to actually implement an elimination diet if that's what you might need. And throughout this whole thing, though, I can't avoid the one criticism that I do have about this book, and that's felt like Sal put a very large emphasis on understanding and listening to your body, which with good reason. There's a lot of benefit to be able to learn to understand your body's signals. They talk about this on their podcast all the time. Understanding your body and your eating more intuitively is awesome. It's phenomenal. It's ultimately, they talk about this, but it really is where we all want to get, depending on our goal, obviously. But we do all want to get to that point where we can do this kind of by the seat of our pants, just because we know ourselves that well. But the problem is that what that can lead to is if you're constantly always trying to do this intuitively, just listening to your body, some of these changes that we're talking about, and really most of these changes, if not all, they're all minute changes. I mean, physically changing your body, building muscle, leaning out, it takes time. And especially if you're a parent, it's going to take potentially a little bit longer, depending on your genetics, depending on your sleep, depending on stress levels, so much. But here's the problem. So one example I'll give you. He recommends, cycling carbohydrates, seeing how you feel on higher carbs versus lower carbs. What does your digestion look like? What does your performance then look like in the gym? All these different factors. And someone who's been in this as long as he has, that might be less of an issue for him because he's had that long to make small tweaks and he does this as a living. It's probably easier for him to then be that much more attuned to it. But to then equate that to whether or not you're building muscle or you're leaning out a little bit, maybe you put on a little bit of body fat, maybe you're actually putting on a little bit of muscle. Oh, the weight on the scale change, what did that actually equate to? That is so difficult. But it is not that simple to just catch and visibly see or feel all of these minute changes over a period of even a few weeks. Even over a couple months, that's going to be difficult to see. Obviously, you're going to see some changes. There's going to be some clues, and the longer you do it, the more you're going to understand. Unless for 2 to 3 months you're committing to cycling carbs a certain way. Or the same thing applies to protein as well. Sal recommends increasing and decreasing protein to see how you feel. Do you feel really good? And do you perform better in the gym and sleep better and all that kind of stuff when you have really high protein? Or is it better if you have a more moderate level of protein? And then what does it do if you even drop it further? I've even done some minor adjustments like this, making changes to my protein, and it is and I'm saying this having been in this for 4 or 5 years. Even after that amount of time and diligent about tracking my nutrition, tracking my training, and learning about this actively, it's really hard to understand those small differences, and they're going to be hardly noticeable. So all of this really takes years to get a sense for, and not the 6 months to a year, roughly, that Sal recommends it might take. Sal wrote this partially with this intent that he wanted a handbook for any personal coach to hand to anyone, and I legitimately want to be able to hand this book to everyone in my life, or even anyone I meet. When I hear people who are literally running on the treadmill every day, I want to just go get them this book and be like, you just need to read this. You don't have to grind your butt off, eat really low calorie to get results. And I have lived this even before learning from Sal and Mind Pump. So for me to see my own results and then to see what Sal has articulated so well and his team has gone through and what they talk about in their podcast, it puts a massive fire under my butt that I want to be able to give people this information because it's life-changing. I hardly put this book down. I pretty much pounded through it, and I was listening to it audiobook, so it was very easy to do. And I'm going to go back and listen to this at least one, if not two more times. 2 thumbs up. I would highly recommend this book. So if you want to maximize your muscle growth, you want to strip the body fat and transform your life, all while still leading your family, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out a couple of videos that I'm going to put on the screen now. They will help you continue on this journey. And as always, be intentional, bring the intensity, and I cannot wait to see you on the next video.